I am Liz Donatelli. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, the #1 romance novel talk show on YouTube. I chatted with multi-award-winning romance author Jeanine Englert about her Scottish Highlands historical romance, Eloping with the Laird. Jeanine also discussed the present-day inspiration for her 18th century love story, the original title of her novel, and she played Scottish wedding traditions trivia. Enjoy, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, Jeanine. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz. I'm excited to be here today.
It is a pleasure. Congratulations on the release of Eloping with the Laird, book 1 in Falling for a Stewart series.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about it. It was really fun to write.
Oh, I can tell. I can tell because it was really fun to read. I am joining you from Blackmore Castle in the Scottish Highlands in the year 1740.
It's beautiful. I love it. I wish I could be there with you.
What is it about 18th century Scottish Highlands that provides the ideal setting for a romance?
For me, I have been to Scotland. It's beautiful. It's sort of the first time I went there, I remember stepping on the soil and it kind of felt like it just sort of echoed through my soul a little bit. It sounds a little crazy, but I just love it. It's very romantic, very mysterious. And I love that Georgian time period because it's right after Scotland is united with England, but they still have a lot of their traditions in place. They haven't been stripped of the tartans and the kilts and a lot of the romance.
Eloping with the Laird is book 1 in Falling for a Stewart series. What is the overarching theme?
It encompasses the 3 Stewart siblings, and it's all about them trying to find their way in the world, find some that they really love and cherish, and they struggle a lot with their own self-acceptance, and for them being open enough to find someone that they can really love and that will respect them and love them back. It is about Myra Fraser. She has been married. She is now widowed, and her father has sort of dropped the hammer on her and said, you have to find a new husband or I'm going to pick one out for you. The first choice that he made for her for the first marriage did not go so well. So she is reluctant to remarry. She also really doesn't want him to pick out someone for her. And since he's given her that opportunity, she's trying to pick someone and she has to select a husband before the end of the Highland Games that they're having at Glenavon. So she ends up hearing of Rory McKenna, Black Rory, who is sort of cursed to die. And she thinks, even though it sounds horrible, she thinks to herself, okay, well, if he isn't going to live very long, he would be the perfect husband for me. So that's how the story begins.
I have to say, hands down, this is the most unique reason that I've ever read in a romance for the heroine to marry the hero. I was immediately hooked and fascinated by every aspect of that situation and of that choice. Why have I never read any other romances where this is the case, especially historical? Because men are often the bane of a woman's existence. They want nothing to do with, marriage and courtship and everything. And then they end up falling in love. I was like, I wonder why that was. I was like, wow. I said, Jeanine really came up with something unique. Where were you? And what were you doing when the love story of Moira and Rory took root in your mind?
To be honest, it sort of sparked, they had a call from Harlequin Historical, like a Warriors Wanted Blitz. And it was the summer of the pandemic, 2020. And I think I had in my mind a lot of things about, those people that wanted to live, those people that were losing people. And it just kind of came to mind the idea of what if you had 2 people coming together, one who desperately wanted to live, but was destined to die. And then had another that really was kind of hiding from her own life. So I think that's kind of how the seeds of it came about, was actually through the pandemic. And then when they had an all call, I thought, it's kind of a weird idea. They're probably not going to go for it. It's a little strange. to have such opposing dualities, but they liked it enough to ask for more. So I wrote more of it, and then here we are. They loved it. So.
Oh, I loved it too. I really truly did. I have to ask about the title. Harlequin historicals usually have very literal, often lengthy titles. And Eloping with the Laird is actually the shorter of many of the titles I've read. But it is a bit of a spoiler in a sense.
Yeah.
Is there a reasoning behind that? Is that to create a low angst reading experience? Because you go into it already knowing, okay, well, they elope, so I know part of the story and it's probably going to end up okay. I mean, is there a rationale behind that? I'm assuming that wasn't your first choice for a title, but maybe it was. So if you could tell me about the evolution of the title and any of the thought process behind it, I'm fascinated.
Yeah, it's a very interesting experience. So they usually ask you for a few titles. The one that I submitted was the last choice Laird, because that happens in the first chapter where he's kind of like, you want me? Am I your last choice? And she says, no, you're my first. And so that sort of takes him aback because he has not had that experience in his love life. So that was what I submitted. They asked me for a couple of other ones. I actually don't remember what they were now. None of them were Eloping with the Laird. That was what they came up with. And yes, they tend to have very literal titles, so you kind of know exactly what you're getting. And since it's pretty early on that she commits to eloping with him, they might have felt like it wasn't that much of a spoiler.
I would love to sit in on a meeting of the Harlequin historical title of editors and come listen to them talk about titles. Like, I am fascinated by their specific process. What kind of prep and or research did you do to prepare for and to write Eloping with the Laird? Because there's a lot of scenes that require knowledge that I guess, unless you're a time traveler, you wouldn't know. Which side question, are you a time traveler?
No, but I would love to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently obsessed with A Discovery of Witches, where they do go back in time. I want to be there.
Okay. Okay.
I wish I were. I do a lot of research. I think I could still do more and more and more. It's so hard to not go down the research rabbit hole and spend entire days just looking up stuff, because you go here and then you're here and all of a sudden 5 hours have passed.
Yeah.
And you writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. What are some of your go-to resources? YouTube, Google?
I use a lot of, believe it or not, I love to watch YouTube videos of the locations just to kind of get a feel of them. And then I tend to go backwards from there, look at maps. I do have a lot of history books. I also love to just look and see what people have written about it, online sources that come from the actual castles themselves to draw inspiration from, blueprints of the castles, anything that's going to help me visually anchor into the scenes. And I also, once I do that, I always make playlists for all of my books too. So I'm very music driven as part of my creative process.
Oh, that's interesting. So what are some of the titles that were on your playlist for Eloping with the Laird?
One of the inspirations was a song called Light on the Hill. I love Damien Rice. He has sort of a lot of like romantic ballads. He's on there. U2, even though they're Irish, I think they still count. They're Celtic. I tend to find songs that kind of triggers a scene in my mind. I am not a plotter. I am a pantster. So I do not write very linearly. I tend to write scenes here and there and then weave it back together. So my scenes don't come in order.
Based on how it reads, you would not think that. I'm really impressed.
We do a lot of editing and I have a very great editor. Thank you, Charlotte. She's great. And I tend to have to rewrite it a few times and then I actually edit backwards. So I read the book from the end to the beginning as part of my editing process, just to see if I have any weird little hiccups where I've changed something and then go back. And that seems to help quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Ever since I did that the first time, I was like, why have I not done this before?
I haven't talked to anyone who edits that way, but it actually does make sense. Well, it all works. Which is not considered a lucky charm in Scotland on your wedding day?
Oh, okay.
Not a lucky charm. A sixpence in the bride's shoe, eating a Scotch egg for breakfast, a sprig of white heather hidden in the bride's bouquet.
I'm going to go with B, the egg.
That is correct. Have you ever had a Scotch egg?
I have not.
I didn't like it. The wedding scramble is traditional in most parts of Scotland. What is it? As the bride steps into the car, her father throws a handful of coins for the children to collect. As the bride steps into the car, her maid of honor throws a handful of toffees to well-wishers. As the bride steps into the car, her mother invites family and friends to steal a kiss from the bride before she departs. What is the wedding scramble?
I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I'm going to go with A.
That is correct. As the bride steps into the car, her father throws a handful of coins for the children to collect. Before their wedding day, women would customarily have their feet washed by an older married woman, gather with women in the bridal party to play card game Tartan Cross, kiss the bridegroom one last time before they meet at the altar.
They're all intriguing choices. I'm really not sure about this one, but I'm going to go with A.
Have their feet washed by an older married woman. That is correct. I came up with the card game Tartan Cross.
It actually sounded very legitimate, so
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. What is the name of the heart-shaped brooch given as a betrothal gift, which in the 16th century was believed to keep witches away from babies? A craddock, Luckenbooth, Unum Cara.
I'm going to go with C.
C, Unum Cara. Actually, that is incorrect. Aww. The answer is a Luckenbooth. The bridegroom would give this brooch, and this was kind of like, oh, this is our wedding gift. It was like a wedding gift. And a craddock, my husband came up with. And Unum Cara actually is Scottish for soulmate.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel good I picked that one, even though it was wrong.
Which item is traditionally given to the happy couple by the best man? A clock, matching kilts, a dagger.
I don't think this is right, but I want it to be a dagger.
Dagger. I'm sorry, but the answer is a clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dagger, my husband came up with, and he also came up with matching kilts. So.
Well, tell him I agree. I think it should be a dagger.
Should be a dagger. I mean, it's very possible that there was a best man, who has given us the couple a dagger.
That was fun.
So thank you so much, Jeanine, for joining me here on Reader Seeks Romance. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it was so much fun. Thank you.